remember working with a client and he was just not dropping weight. And I was like, okay, what's going on? Let's figure this out. Do an experiment with me, and I want you to eat precisely what I've written down on this meal plan, nothing extra. And he's like, oh, so that little bit of peanut butter that I eat after dinner, I can't do that? I was like, no, it might not be impacting it, but I just need to figure out what's going on. So please just follow this to a T. Pretend you're in a lab and this is all you're given. It's like, okay, Dr. Ashley. And he shook me on it with me and he promised. And he came back the next week and he was down 5 pounds. And I was like, hey, what happened here? Tell me, I'm so interested. And he's like, Dr. Ashley, it was the peanut butter. He said, I thought I just went back and had 1 teaspoon, but I was in that jar like Winnie the Pooh in a honey pot.
Welcome to the Dr. Ashley Show.
Welcome to the Dr. Ashley Show. I'm Dr. Ashley, and today I'm going to dive into some real PhD weight loss case studies. And I want to share with you what they ate before they came into the program, what some of them ate during the program, and what some of them are eating during maintenance. I'm also going to share with you at the end some meals that I recommend to anyone on a weight loss journey for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So stick with me to the end. Before I dive in, I want you to remember that everyone is really different. What worked for these clients that I'm going to dive into might not work for you. And that's why PhD is so effective and so unique, is because we customize it to each individual. And most importantly, we continue to tweak the meal plan because as your body slims down, your dietary needs continue to change. And that's what we highly focus on with our clients at PhD. So another big thing to remember as you're going through the weight loss process is that 80% of weight loss comes from the mind. So no matter what you're doing, I want to make sure that you're also tackling the mental, emotional habits and behaviors that are at play. I want to try to explain this to you. I look at weight loss as a process of letting go. It's letting go of the excess fat weight that is holding you back, that's not serving you, but also the emotions that are tied to it. So if you could imagine on a graph and you see your weight starting off high and then dropping slowly and hopefully consistently down into that optimal weight, I want you to think also of the habits, behaviors, and the mental and emotional things associated with the weight loss. The mental and emotional aspects are starting off highly charged and significant at the beginning of the weight loss journey, and those two have to be released. You also have to let go of those things, and they have to go, ideally, it would be nice for them to go in tandem with the weight loss. Now, if it takes longer to release the emotions and the thoughts and perhaps the trauma that's associated with the weight, that's okay, but that work has to be done. If you only go through weight loss and think about what and when and how much to eat and how much to exercise, then I really believe from the experience of helping thousands and thousands of people drop weight and keep it off, that your weight isn't going to stay off. It's going to be one of the reasons why you have the potential to yo-yo back up. You got to do the deep work. You got to let go of the addiction and the things that are accompanying that addiction. There is deep work associated with letting go. And so if you're in the process of dropping weight, I want to make sure that you understand you're also in the process of letting go of the emotions that are tied to it. And even again, like I said, if the weight drops a little bit faster than the emotions, that's okay. But then you have to continue to do the work on the emotions so that at some point they come into alignment. If the emotions and the trauma stays up high and the weight drops down, the weight, you better bet, is going to come back up to match the emotional state. So I hope that you understand that. Today, as I go through these case studies, I'm not sharing the emotional release of each. I'm just looking at the basics of when and what they're eating. So I want to make sure you understand that. If you are watching this on YouTube and this surprises you, I want you to drop comments below and tell me what is surprising or what revelations have you had for yourself in the process of dropping weight when it comes to the emotional and mental side of things. All right, so diving into the case studies here, I'm going to start with Beth. She's 40 years old when she came into us. She's 5'4", And she had a visceral fat, that belly fat, a rating of 8. And for a lady who's 40 at 5'4", really we want to see that visceral fat at a 4. So she had twice as much visceral fat as she should or wants to have to achieve optimal wellness and health. Her body fat percentage at the time was 39%, and really she should be around 25 to 26% at her age. She came in weighing around 173 pounds. She's got a lot of muscle, so our target for her was around 130 pounds. What I think is interesting here is when you're going about weight loss, I encourage you not to look at BMI. BMI looks at just your height to weight ratio, and it doesn't say what that weight is made up of. You could be a heavier individual, but all muscle mass, and that does not mean that you have excess fat weight that you need to drop. But if you look at BMI, the BMI would be high. And if you went into your, physician, they would say, oh, your BMI is high. That means you're overweight, and you'd be classified as overweight or obese, when actually that weight was healthy muscle. So for example, this lady at 5'4", if she had an average amount of muscle, her weight should be around 120 pounds, but she's got more muscle than the average lady who's 5'4". So that means at 130 pounds, she would be healthy, although her BMI would still look high. I hope that makes sense. So when she came in at 173 pounds, she was eating waffles and bagels for breakfast. For lunch, she would have mostly fast food, but sometimes when she was feeling up for it, she would make her lunch. It would always include rice and pasta, and if she did go out for fast food, she'd always get fries with it. Her fear is that she would never get below 160 pounds. It seemed that no matter what she did in the past, she could drop that 13 pounds, but she would get stuck at 160 pounds. So we created a meal plan for her. We increased healthy animal protein sources throughout the day. We started her off eating breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, and dinner. And then as time goes by, we find that the body becomes fat adapted and you don't need to eat every 3 to 4 hours. That is a myth, and it is not the case once you're fat adapted. We decreased her carbs and we increased her veggies, always full fat dressing, nothing fat-free, nothing diet. We encouraged her to have coffee with delicious, my favorite food, heavy cream, and she enjoyed it so much. In the first 8 weeks, she blew through that 160 mark. She couldn't believe it. She dropped 16.6 pounds in the first 8 weeks. At the end of 22 weeks, she was down 32.4 pounds, and she is now easily maintaining it. Now she eats for breakfast eggs and bacon. She has Greek yogurt with berries as a snack. If she does have fast food, she might go to Chipotle and she gets a salad bowl, no beans or corn, and with maybe double protein, or she'll get a burger with no bun. Her favorite dinner is steak fajitas with guacamole, and she has amazing energy. She can't believe it, and she's feeling great in her body. So next is Bob. He's a 66-year-old guy, 6 foot, 205 pounds, with a body fat of 26%. For a guy of this age, I'd like to see a body fat percentage around 19 to 21%, but probably 21 a little bit high. And then his visceral fat was a 14, and at his age, I'd like to see that visceral fat drop to about a 10 to an 11. He's a veterinarian. He's so busy, so he needed something super easy and convenient because of his crazy schedule. Before he started, he would have protein shakes or a protein bar for breakfast on the run, but the macros and the ingredients weren't good, and he didn't realize that. At lunch, he would have a sandwich made on keto bread, and then dinner would be pasta and some kind of veggie, and then he would have late night snacks like almond butter and fruit. So his food choices weren't terrible in theory, but he wasn't eating enough protein. It was low in healthy fats, and his food selections had more sugar than he realized. He skipped meals a lot because he was caught up with work and he had no plan in place. He was very interested in nutrition and was an A-plus student. He followed the plan we created for him to a T, and he was very precise. In 12 weeks, he dropped 32 pounds, and he could not believe how easy it was. He landed at 172 pounds, 19% body fat, which is perfect for him. He learned to eat correctly for his body. In his meal plan, we made sure that he was getting about 0.8 grams per pound body weight. We gave him clear meal times, and we made sure that he was eating about 8 ounces of protein for dinner. So more specifics in there, of course, but those are the highlights for Bob. Then we had John, and he's 52 years old, 6'2 and a half, 240 pounds, a visceral fat, belly fat of 15, and a body fat of 30%. So same thing goes for him. I would like to see a body fat of 19, 20%. Visceral fat, he's a little bit younger, maybe at a 10, and a goal weight of about 200 pounds. When he came in, he was feeling tired and achy. He didn't understand correct nutrition for his body, and he wanted a better way for him and his family. He was really busy, and his job required a lot of physical activity, and he was totally eating out of convenience. He was having bagels and muffins, maybe fast food for lunch, pizza, and a nightly beer, which many of us do. We, in his meal plan that we created for him, made it work for his crazy busy schedule, upped his protein, focused on meal timing. We had him have breakfast, snack, lunch, snack at about 3, another protein shake at 5, and then dinner, and then maybe something after dinner. And then again, once his body became fat adapted, we continued to tweak his meal plan so that at maintenance, he's likely either fasting through breakfast because he doesn't need it, or he's eating breakfast, a lunch, a snack, and dinner likely. He did put in more animal protein and fresh produce and healthy fats. He subbed out alcohol and got rid of that liquid bread, is what I call beer. He, in 8 weeks, dropped 28.6 pounds and ultimately dropped all of the 40 pounds in 16 weeks. He's now in maintenance, and his favorite foods are wings and lettuce wrapped tacos. He travels a lot, and during his traveling, I asked him what he eats, and he eats omelets or a protein shake for breakfast, burger with no bun, salad with full-fat dressing for lunch, some kind of PhD-approved protein bar, and then he'll have fish with slaw and a half sweet potato as an example for dinner. He's got no more aches. He feels so good, and he's had better energy than he's ever had before. So huge congratulations to him. And then lastly, we have Carol. She came in, 42-year-old mom who was super busy taking care of her kids, 5'2", 150 pounds with 34% body fat and a visceral fat of 6. So for her, probably around 120 pounds, maybe 115 pounds was her target. Body fat, I would like to see it around 25% for her, and then a visceral fat of around 3 to 4. She had high blood pressure at 42 years old and on cholesterol medications. She felt like she ate really healthy. So for breakfast, she would have fruit smoothies. For lunch would be a sandwich or light takeout. She would have snacks like popcorn and pretzels. And then for dinner, she would have meat and veggies, and she'd have a late night piece of fruit. And she enjoyed wine several times a week. During the program, she went all in and did whatever we helped guide her and recommended her on. She followed the meal times, she followed the amounts, even when she was dining out, and she too let go of alcohol. Now, you can drink and drop the weight, but the way alcohol works is that it gets into the liver, and the liver is in charge of burning the alcohol. So I want you to imagine that it's going to do that first, because alcohol is pretty toxic to the body, and it's a pretty easy fuel source for the liver to burn. So just think it goes to the easiest thing first. It burns off that alcohol, but then it doesn't burn off the stuff that you're eating in conjunction with it as efficiently, and it actually knocks you out of fat burn. So one shot will knock you out of fat burn for about 4 to 8 hours, and more than one shot or one drink knocks you out of fat burn exponentially. So oftentimes our clients will say, gosh, it's just not worth it, or I just want to do it a few times a week or for special celebrations. So for Carol, she just let go of it. And she was down 25 pounds. As a result, following her PhD program, her body fat got down to 25%, which is perfect for her body, and visceral fat down to a 4. She dropped all of her meds and told me that she is never going back. One thing about the way that she was eating with popcorn and pretzels, oftentimes we think that these are good diet foods because they are fat-free or low-fat. You can find gluten-free options. But popcorn and pretzels are one of the worst foods that you can eat. The reason why is because it spikes your blood glucose levels, and it causes highs and compensatory lows. It doesn't give you any kind of protein. It's not supporting your muscle mass. So if you are listening to this or watching this and you eat popcorn or pretzels, just get those out of the house and don't turn back around toward them. They are a food that you say you love that does not love you back. So make sure that you think about letting those puppies go. Hey, really quickly, if you're interested in hydrating yourself optimally and want to do it in an efficient and effective way, I created an Electrolyte Plus mix just for that. It's called Dr. Ashley's Electrolyte Plus Creative, I know. And it's crafted with essential electrolytes, vitamins, and minerals for maximum absorption. With patented forms of zinc and vitamin C, it supports immune and adrenal function. Plus, chromium picolinate regulates healthy blood sugar levels while helping to curb those cravings. Say goodbye to headaches and fatigue. Visit drashleywellness.com and use code Ashley10 for 10% off your first purchase or 20% off your first subscription order with free shipping. Plus, enjoy 30-day money-back guarantee. Now, back to the episode. All right, so some common meals that I advise for anyone who's looking to drop weight or even to maintain a weight loss. Breakfast items, I always like eggs in any forms. It could be an omelet, it could be bacon and eggs, it could be poached eggs. Another good type of breakfast is a plain, full-fat Greek yogurt. And the reason why I say plain, full-fat Greek yogurt is because Greek yogurt is made in a way that has much more protein. You could get about 20 to 25 grams of protein in a cup versus 6, for a regular yogurt. You want to make sure you get at least low fat to full fat because the fat is what keeps you full. And then you want to get plain because those flavors add actually a ton of sugar, and many yogurts will have just as much sugar as like a Haagen-Dazs ice cream. So you're really wanting to get plain, and then you can top it with berries, nuts, and seeds, a little honey if you want to do that to get the flavor and the sweetness. Or you could even stick some drops of stevia in there, and there's different flavors of stevia. And some people like to drop a little bit of electrolyte powder in there that's flavored and make it taste good that way. I honestly like just plain yogurt, but I've been eating it for a really long time, and my tongue and palate and taste buds are used to it. Another good option would be a protein shake. So you'd want to make sure you're getting about 30 grams in general of protein powder in there. I like right now Equip. It's a beef isolate protein powder because sometimes whey just doesn't feel good in my gut, but whey is a really great option if you tolerate it. If you need plant-based, I don't encourage it because you actually have to consume more plant-based protein to absorb as much protein as you otherwise would in an animal protein type source like whey or that beef isolate. But if you do need to get a plant-based, you could go with a pea protein option there. And then what you would do is I like to add an unsweetened almond milk in there, some ice, maybe a little bit of frozen spinach or frozen berries, and maybe if there's no fat in there, some olive oil or some MCT oil or a little bit of heavy cream, depending on what my goals are. And I actually have been into bee pollen for the last year or so because bee pollen actually has a lot of great B vitamins. I know that's kind of funny, isn't it? You can remember that easily. And I throw some of that in there. And let's see if there's anything else. Oh, sometimes I'll put some kefir in there if I want to get some probiotics. So that's usually how I would make a protein shake. Sometimes I don't stick berries in there. It depends on if I've got, 5 seconds to make the shake or 5 minutes. And then you could also do no eggs and just do some sausage and avocado for breakfast. That could be a good option. You could do half an avocado and stick the sausage in there. Isn't that fun? You could do lox also with cream cheese if you really like fish and want to get your omega-3s in there. Lunch could be a salad with a full fat dressing. If you dine out, go out, and they have the option for a salad bowl, do the salad bowl instead of the rice bowl, instead of the wrap. A lot of people think that a wrap is a better option. Those wraps are so full of carbohydrates. I look at a wrap kind of like a wallpaper. It's just wallpaper paste, and it's not giving you anything that you need. All of the nutrition and the stuff that matters for your body is actually inside that thing. So just get rid of it and stick it in a bowl. Even if you had to get a burrito or something wrapped up in a wrap, open it up and dump it on the plate and toss the wrap. The wrap is not serving you. You don't really need beans or corn or rice, so just ask to hold that on the side. Get plenty of lettuce, maybe double protein, some cheese if you tolerate it, sour cream, guacamole, salsa, and there you go. Always adding protein. You could get a burger patty, no bun. You could do, if you're a guy and you got a lot of muscle mass in there, a double patty, no bun, a salad, no fries. You could do tuna with Primal Kitchen mayo. That is my favorite brand because it's made with avocado oil instead of vegetable oil. It is very hard to find a mayo that really has avocado oil in it. You will see really tricky labels for mayo, and they'll say olive oil mayo, and I'll pick it up and I'll be like, great, this is good. And I'll look on the back and it will say all these different vegetable oils down there. And then at the very bottom of the ingredient list, it has little baby olive oil there. And you know that they list the ingredients in order of abundance of the items in the product. So whatever is the first 3 things in an ingredient list is primarily what you're eating. And the thing at the bottom is really where they put like a little drop in there. So you really need to be careful and be an advocate for yourself. But Primal Kitchen is a very good brand there. Snacks, I really like carnivore snacks. They are really delicious. I advise that you check them out. Some of them are a bit expensive, so sometimes that is tough, but they're a good treat, and we get them once in a while as a treat. Deli meat with cheese and mayo and avocado wrapped up in it. Get uncured deli meat, the best brands, the cleanest brands that you can if possible. Again, the full-fat yogurt with berries. You could do some almond butter and celery, but a note here, almond butter and nuts are trigger foods for a lot of people. They are for me, and those nuts and the almond butter stick to my bones. If I eat those, I put on fat weight pretty darn quickly. That's just how my body works. But I will tell you from my experience of working with clients at PhD that nuts and nut butter are big trigger foods. I remember working with a client and he was just not dropping weight. And I was like, okay, what's going on? Let's figure this out. Do an experiment with me, and I want you to eat precisely what I've written down on this meal plan, nothing extra. And he's like, oh, so that little bit of peanut butter that I eat after dinner, I can't do that? I was like, no, it might not be impacting it, but I just need to figure out what's going on. So please just follow this to a T. Pretend you're in a lab, and this is all you're given. It's like, okay, Dr. Ashley. And he shook me on it with me, and he promised. And he came back the next week, and he was down 5 pounds. And I was like, hey, what happened here? Tell me, I'm so interested. And he's like, Dr. Ashley, it was the peanut butter. He said, I thought I just went back and had 1 teaspoon, but I was in that jar like Winnie the Pooh in a honey pot. So just make sure you're not like Winnie the Pooh in a honey pot when it comes to the nuts and the nut butter. The salted nuts are so good, but sometimes you just have to let those go and keep them to celebrations where you can pick up a spoonful and then you don't have to look at the darn things anymore. But if it's not a trigger food for you, maybe a handful of nuts or almond butter on celery and a hard-boiled egg with salt. Don't forget the salt. Salt is good for you and makes things taste good. You could also do a Quest bar or a Power Crunch bar. I have lots of different brands of suggestions for protein bars. And then dinner might be, an example could be fish or shrimp with riced cauliflower instead of regular rice. It could be spaghetti sauce over zucchini noodles, which are delicious. When you cook zucchini noodles, you want to fry them at high heat with an oil. Do not boil them or you will get mashed disgustingness and you won't be able to enjoy the deliciousness of them instead. Or you could always do pesto with the zucchini noodles, some Parmesan cheese, and salmon. I'm getting hungry talking about all this food. You could do a burger, no bun, a steak with roasted veggies, fish with veggies if you want to add some carbs and you feel that that's necessary for you. I would suggest sweet potato, rice, or butternut squash or acorn squash is kind of your lower inflammatory types of carbohydrate. So I hope that this was helpful to you. If you are listening to this on a podcast platform, please leave a review. It really means a lot to me, and follow us. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe and drop a comment below on what you enjoy for breakfast, lunch, snacks, and dinner. Give to the community with your suggestions and I'll be a part of the conversation. So remember, you've got to step up to make the change. Lead with your heart, train your mind, and do not negotiate with your body. See you next time.